It's time. It's our time, my friends. Time for millions of maturepreneurs, 55 plus, who are hashtag not done by a long shot, to revolutionize how we lead, do business, and innovate our world. I'm your host, Jeanette Anderson, and welcome to my conversations with fascinating people who would rather inspire than retire. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Maturepreneur World podcast. I am your hostess with the mostest, Jeanette Anderson, and today I have the fabulous Amanda Hinman with me, all the way from not so sunny Chicago, and we're just been commiserating about how cold we are. And I'm sure that all of you everywhere right now, if you're listening to this in January, can relate. So if you're listening to it later, congratulations, you're probably not freezing your ass off. So that's a good thing. So today we're going to be talking about a topic. You know that I love bringing you both the inner and the outer game of business, because we are whole human beings. So we are, yes, we need to learn marketing and tactics and strategy and sales and all of those things, but we also need to have bodies that function and mindset that doesn't get in the way and kick those limiting beliefs out of the way of blocking us from being successful. So today we're going to be talking about physicality and how to increase your energy, improve mental clarity, and permanent weight loss. She's going to be talking about why most diets fail and the missing link. So steps to increased energy are every entrepreneur's best friend. So I'm glad we're going to be talking about that, Amanda. And yes, I know she does look a little bit younger than 55, because she is, but she's such an expert in this topic, and it's such an important topic. I made an exception to the rule that all of our speakers are 55 plus. So that's why she looks like she is. So I'm going to give you the official intro. Amanda, you will get to talk at some point, I promise. I'm going to give you the official intro to Amanda. Then we'll find out the juicy tidbits that you wouldn't guess behind the scenes. And then we're going to launch into this topic really about hormones and weight loss and energy and our bodies and how to get these things working. Because I gotta tell you, some days, not so much. So Amanda is a dedicated functional medical health coach and best-selling author. Amanda has helped hundreds of women reclaim their health through her holistic approach. With her newly released book, The Thyroid Hormone Solution, she's sharing even more tools and insights to empower you on your health journey. Awesome. When's your book coming out? Or it just came out?
It's already out. It's a bestseller, The Thyroid Hormone Solution.
Good for you. That's great. Just out of curiosity, how long did it take you to write your book and get it out there?
The writing process initially, I would say, it was about 9 months, and then working with the publisher and having final edits and all of the kind of revisions and cover design was about another 6 months or so. So year and a half, and it was released.
Like having a baby and a half, baby and 3/4.
So and you know, there's definitely some ebbs and flows, ups and downs in the journey, in the process of birthing your book.
Yeah, it's not necessarily as quick and easy as some people would like to lead you to believe. You know, these people who say write your book in a weekend and so forth. Well, you probably have a good outline by the time you leave, but that whole write your book in a weekend, unless it's 100% written by AI, not so much. And then is it really your book? So anyways, that aside, you can tell I had a lot of caffeine today. I'm a little easily distracted. So tell me a little bit about you, Amanda, that we wouldn't guess. What do your friends not know about you?
What do they not know about me?
Yeah.
Ooh, what do my friends not know about me?
That's a secret. Tell us a juicy secret.
I would say a juicy secret is that, I think one of the things that lights me up in life is the most important thing is to witness the light, but what I call the light bulb moment, like the realization. And actually, you know what, I would describe it as the coming into conscious awareness of the things that have held us back, whether it be myself personally, when I have all of a sudden this light bulb moment of like, wow, I didn't realize that that's the way I had been understanding this, or that's the way I had always assumed that the way the world worked. Or when working with women, working with clients, or even just friends in conversation, when you can see that light bulb, that shift of awareness that just becomes a paradigm shift for the way that they can move forward in their life.
Yeah. Yep, yep. I know that moment. It's lovely. It gives you a little bit of goosebumps and kind of that whole sense of, okay, all of this pain in the butt building of a business is worth it.
With it. Yes. Yeah.
So, how long have you been doing what you're doing right now?
I have been in business for 9 years now, and really started the business on what I call it like a divine redirection, right? It wasn't, I've always been interested in health and fitness and wealth. So, when I was earlier in my life, had a passion and a desire to be healthy and to tune into nutrition and that type of stuff. And I self-identified as somebody who was very healthy until I had my own health crisis. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition about 12 years ago, and went through the different steps of trying to figure out what is going on. Why is my body attacking itself? And how, I was told I'd be on medication for life and would just have to manage all of the insomnia that I was experiencing and hair loss and, absolutely depleted energy levels. And it didn't seem to make sense because on paper, I thought I was checking all the boxes and doing all the things, eating the salads and the smoothies and working out and going to fitness classes and doing the things that I had learned
Mm-hmm.
attributed to great health. And then I fast forward about 9 months after my diagnosis, my oldest daughter, I have four daughters, who was 8 years old at that time. She had always been really sensitive and prone to anxiety and anxious thoughts, but that escalated to the place of where she was having 10 to 15 seizures a day.
Mm.
And when I tell you, Jeanette, there's nothing more humbling as a parent than to see your child suffering and struggling. I mean,
Mhm.
to the point where she was on 12 pills a day, four different benzodiazepine medications just to make it through a 24-hour period without having another seizure. And it numbed her out. Like she wasn't my, happy-go-lucky, energetic, witty, sharp little girl anymore. She was kind of just a zombie. And we were told she would never be able to drive a car because of the level of medication she required and this and that. And I just started to think like, this can't be her future. Just like I had not understood what was happening with my body and why I had been diagnosed with an autoimmune. There was no discernible explanation for her situation and her imbalance. We were told that sometimes these things are genetic and we get to manage this and she'll just learn to manage it. But that really inspired my desire to become empowered and to see the light bulb moment of like, what is going on? What else is below the surface? And that's when I went back to study functional medicine science, which is really looking at the interconnection and between our digestive system and our immune system and our endocrine system and our neurotransmitter balance, every system in the body, how they work in concert together and what are the different factors that can create a blockage or an impairment or a depletion causing the unwanted symptoms downstream. Um, so that was really my catalyst. That was my journey to be like, it was a personal situation first of like, we need to heal ourselves and understand how to build health again. And then I just was so immersed in it and so excited about the possibility
Mhm.
that it led me to start a business and help to other support women.
Well, okay, I have about three, four questions from that whole thing. So the first one is, can you define kind of the difference between functional medicine and regular medicine? Because I would think regular medicine looks at it and deals with all those systems. So how come they're saying, can't do anything about it, just live with it? What is that fundamental difference between the two?
Great question. I love that. So yes, conventional Western medicine is obviously has all these specialties, right? And it looks at all of these systems. The thing that's different typically in the model is it's not necessarily looking at the interconnected patterns for this unique individual to kind of puzzle piece together what are the variety of circumstances and physiological environment that's being created to cause this downstream cascade of symptoms. So interesting, in the ICD guidebook, there's over 55,000 different diseases and diagnoses and syndromes. So we have a lot of different names. However, those names, those diseases, those labels, just simply put a name on a collection of symptoms. It does not tell us anything about what is that unique set of factors or puzzle pieces, if you will, for this individual that created this collection of symptoms. So, for example, I can have my daughter's situation where she had seizures, like epilepsy, a significant amount of seizures. She was having multiple in a day. And in her unique situation, it actually was derived from nutritional imbalances. She did not have adequate levels of certain nutrients, several vitamins and amino acids and proteins. So her body was creating a demand that her brain was not able to fulfill. And so it was kind of like short fusing. Like in layman's terms, it was almost like her brain was just like too much, short circuit. We're gonna like tap out type of a thing. That's very different than somebody who has, let's say, seizures or epilepsy that are caused by a tumor growth or development in the brain, right? That actually could be an imbalance in the immune system that's not regulating cellular destruction and removal. So those could be two completely different symptoms or two completely different reasons why somebody may be presenting with the same effect, the same symptom, right? Exactly. In my autoimmune condition, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, in my case, I actually had really elevated levels of estrogen as it relates to progesterone. I was a high stress person, kind of a high adrenaline producer, and my adrenaline stress hormones were out of balance, which suppressed progesterone and elevated estrogen relative, and that estrogen can block thyroid function. So there was some factors there that I was unaware of. That could be very different from somebody else who has an autoimmune dynamic because they have exposure to a chronic viral infection that created an immune difference and it looked different. So it's really looking at, for this individual, what can we puzzle piece backwards to start to shift from the root how to build health again. Does that make sense?
It does. What I'm kind of hearing, and I know this is simplification, but it kind of sounds like Western medicine focuses more on identifying the what and treating the what, whereas functional medicine really wants to know the why that what exists, and how to go and treat the cause, not the effect. Is that
Yes,
fairly
exactly.
accurate? Because I know some Western medicine, practitioners and doctors and so forth might disagree with this and say, oh no, we look at the cause and we treat the cause. But in my experience, generally, a lot of it is treating the symptoms, not the necessarily the cause, unless of course they're doing something like surgery or whatever to root out the tumor or the whatever.
Mhm.
I, I'm I'm curious and fascinated by the fact that, and I suspect this is a whole little side tangent, but you're a person who clearly wants to know why something is. I bet your favorite question when you were a little kid was why, which probably irritated your parents to death. But but it created a great future here and now. But I'm curious why more doctors don't ask why. And I know that they're trained to deal with the what and the here and the now and solving that. But it seems to me and I've heard so many people say that the diagnosis they got was, this is it, you just have to live with it, there is no solution. I can't imagine um, anybody accepting that as a legitimate answer. Like, I mean, I think there would be so few things that that's actually true for. What do you think it is in you that had you be an advocate? Because so many people, a mentor of mine used to call them M deities. In our Western, world, doctors hold a lot of power. People, they make a pronouncement. People think that's the truth and that's the way it is, and therefore that's what's going to happen. So, what is it in you, do you think, that had you go, yeah, no, let me go figure something else out? Because that's a whole different way of thinking about it, and we don't advocate enough for our health. We don't, say no. We don't set boundaries with authorities like that, especially in the medical system. What is it within you, and how can other people do that more?
Yes. Okay. I love this question. And I'm going to answer it in two parts. The first part is kind of responding to why the conventional Western medicine model is the way it is, where you're spot on, where it's really about stepping in and intervening at the part of the what and what do we do about it, as opposed to looking back at the why. I think it's candidly speaking, it's just simply out of necessity. Because typically when people get to the place of reaching out and being in a diagnosable situation, the dynamic has reached enough critical mass that we need to intervene. There needs to be some type of action plan to mitigate further damage or further progression of what has already been unfolding, likely for years, if not decades, leading up to that, right? So, and given the demand and the volume of people who have reached that critical mass and that acute place of diagnosis or treatment or surgery, it's just simply a you know supply and demand issue. Like doctors, typically when you go for your doctor's appointment is 20 minutes. What are they able to disseminate, share, value, and do in that limited time frame is limited, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the reason it is the way it is. And it's just honestly so much of the work that I do helping women to step into truly root cause resolution involves changing daily lifestyle choices. Period. You cannot get away from chronic symptom or chronic disease management. It's not a path to true vitality. That is a path to managing and slowing down maybe the effects of chronic disease. When we're talking about true vitality, building wellness, that is a daily experience with how you identify who you are, how you regulate your nervous system, the choices that you take each day to nourish your body or not, the choices you make each day to move or not. All of these things, it's a prioritization, right? And so there's a little bit deeper layer of learning about yourself and learning about your own blocks and resistance to why that hasn't happened to date. And candidly, the Western model just doesn't have the bandwidth to help people through that. That's why I always encourage women to really the number one thing that I said in the beginning of this is the number one challenge that holds people back from reaching increased levels of energy, reaching balanced mood is the why bother syndrome.
The why?
Why bother syndrome.
Ah.
I've tried the diet plan. I think I can keep it up, but after 3 weeks, it's too hard. I'm not, it's not sustainable. Or if you found yourself, waking up twice in the last week with an interrupted night of sleep where you don't feel refreshed and, it kind of affects your performance the next day, but you haven't yet been able to resolve that, you kind of think, is it even possible for me to consistently get really restful, restorative sleep, right? All of these, we get into that place of why bother, where we just accept that this is kind of just the way it has to be because it's the way it's been. And the second part of, I want to answer your question is about why me. What stood out to me is one of my top strengths is learner. And I absolutely love to learn. So I didn't recognize it at the time, but it was a natural inclination for me to ask why and to want to learn the answer. And one of the gifts that I love sharing with the people that I support and these women is it can actually be truly enlivening and invigorating and inspiring to learn and to know your body, your physiology, your mental emotional state and well-being, and your nervous system in a much more intimate way than what you currently do if you're experiencing a health dynamic that is undesirable. And that process can be enjoyable. It can be eye-opening. It can be those ahas, and fun. And when it becomes fun, it changes who you are. It changes your identity. And that's how you live that way for the rest of your life. That's how you create permanent change.
Okay, I want to follow up on this because it's really important. Love the passion that you have for this. And one of my questions that I was thinking while you were talking is, what are the benefits of not taking the easy pop a pill way? Because we are trained so much in our society to, and frankly, we're busy and lazy by and large. Well, I'll speak for myself. I'm busy and lazy, and I suspect so are a lot of other people. And so there's this immediate gratification component to taking a pill or whatever to, in theory, remedy the situation. And so you mentioned, inspired, it can be fun, it can be educational, it can be enlightening. What are some of the real benefits that you experienced in getting in the driver's seat? And what are the benefits for people to doing the work? Because that's, like you said, there's a certain amount of inertia, there's a certain amount of resistance, doubt, that it will work, all of those things. It's a lot to overcome. And
Yeah.
it's an investment of time, energy, and money to do this. So why should we? What are the benefits?
Why should we? Well, from a very, like, I'll start at the very tactical benefits. The tactical benefits are increase in energy, increase in focus, ability to have a better output for your time spent. Like, if we're on this earth and we're living, we're existing, right? You just, quite frankly, have a higher energy output. In fact, there's a study by the Center of Disease Control that showed that the highest income earners naturally had a 25% cellular energy capacity. It makes perfect sense. Their body is quite literally functioning at a higher level. So, of course, they're making more money. Of course, they're more successful in business. They have more creativity. They have more resilience. They have more innovation. They can demand more leadership, right? So, there is a real tangible benefit in terms of if you have desires to financially increase your abundance, if you have desires to creatively put more work out into the world and just leave more of an impact, leave a legacy. So there are those aspects. I personally believe it's our soul's journey. It's our soul's journey. You are given one life. Your life is God's gift to you, and how you choose to live it with the fullest expression, love, passion, impact is your gift to the world. So it allows you to step more fully into your legacy and your gift to the world when you are living your fullest capacity.
I love that line. I just want to repeat it because I think it's very profound, that this life is God's gift to us, and how we live it is our gift to the world. It's paraphrased. It's a very, very profound notion to really take accountability for how are we using this gift? How are we living our life in a way that is intentional, um, rather than by default? So tell me just a little bit before we get into your 5 tips for more energy and the why diets don't work and those topics. Tell me just a little bit about what the process is. If someone, let's say someone has a chronic issue. So I have fibromyalgia. Let's say I was going to come to you to say, I don't want fibromyalgia anymore. I don't want to deal with it anymore. What kind of process would I go through in in functional medicine then, rather than going to my doctor who basically is just prescribed pills for it?
Yes, well, a great question. And I can speak to my process, which is a little bit different than other practitioners. I can't speak for all functional medicine practitioners, but one thing that is unique about the way that I support my clients is holistic in nature. And that is a catchphrase. We hear that term all the time. What does that mean? Well, in addition to looking at the physiology of the body, right? So we run some functional lab work for you, depending on your unique situation. I'm really critical of just hesitating to run a whole bunch of labs, because you can go to a lot of functional doctors who will spend thousands of dollars in lab work and give you a list of about 15 supplements to start taking, and then foods to cut out of your diet, and then say, come back and we'll retest in 3 months and see what has changed. I went that route at first when I was first diagnosed, and I dove in like a banshee of like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make these changes, take these pills, and see what changes. A little bit of improvement. I had a little bit of more energy for about 6 weeks and this and that. But then after a while, the overwhelm of trying to live with so much strict elimination diet, going to family functions and parties and being like, well, I can't have that. I can't have that. I started to have admittedly, I recognize that now I can see it. Like, I was resentful of these new choices and decisions that I was being asked to make in support of my health, rather than working in collaboration and understanding it at a deeper level. So the result was that it didn't actually work. My antibody numbers went up instead of down. My symptoms kind of continued to escalate for a period of several months. And then it's even more defeating, because you're like, this isn't even working. It's expensive and it's not creating any change. So why the heck should I bother, right? Well, what's different about the approach that I use now is, yes, we do look at the physiology. So we'll look at some micronutrient test to see where are your cells actually saying that they don't have the right nutrients to do the job that they are designed to do, right? So we can see at a very clear barcode, does it have enough vitamin A? Does it have enough alpha lipoic acid? Do you have enough magnesium so that your cell can do what it was designed to do? Or is it like scraping like an empty tank of gas and the car can't go, right? That's going to be problem number one, obviously. Um, so we can understand that piece, but more so than just telling you, here's what it is. So this is what you need to go eat, or this is a supplement you need to take. It's really looking at how can we set up a sustainable lifestyle game plan for you to continuously nourish yourself and continuously prioritize this. In other words, what is the resistance that's getting in the way? And it's usually our belief in limited time, limited self-worth, and control. And so a lot of the work I do is going to those deeper subconscious layers of helping to expose and to release what has held you back up until now. And we do some neuroscience to do neurological rewiring so that you can start to put forth new choices and new habits with greater ease, see the impact, and then it becomes sustainable. If we don't release some of the resistance and expose what's gotten in the way, we just try and plow ourselves forward with new action. That's eventually going to tire you out. It's like trying to push a boulder up a hill. You're not going to sustain it. You're going to give up and feel defeated. So we got to kind of carve a new path and do it step by step in a way that's allowing you to see progress, allowing you to see new possibilities, allowing you to see this is effective. And that's when it becomes permanent.
Love that approach. It makes a lot of sense. I too did that process of spending process, depending on where you're listening from, of spending thousands of dollars on special foods to test allergies and on special tests and so forth, to be told, here, take all these supplements, and by the way, don't eat anything that's food. So, no dairy, no wheat, no sugar, no no eggs, something I forget which, if it was whites or yellows, and no, as you can see, I paid a lot of attention. No nuts, no. So like the list of no's pretty much just felt like it precluded eating. Now, could I, live on a diet that was not those things? Yes, but it was extremely challenging. And so it just went by the wayside because it was like, yeah, no, that's too hard. So I love your approach and I love the thought of it. So I do want to come back to more about hormones, but let's talk about, and it might be included in this, let's talk about 5 steps to increased energy, improve mental clarity, and permanent weight loss. What are those 5 steps?
So the first one is identify the root cause in your unique body. And that's, yes, exactly what you said. I think it's so important for us to start to pay attention to the cues and clues that our body is signaling to us all the time. Hormones are the messenger molecules in the body. So hormones are sending out those red flares via symptoms to say, hey, go over here, pay attention. I need some attention. I need some help. I need some support. And so one of the things that I'm happy to share with your listeners, if it's beneficial for them, is my free hormone health assessment. This is where you can there's a series of questions you can jot down based on the symptoms that you may be experiencing. And it will point to which of the top 6 metabolic hormones are likely to be showing imbalance. Cortisol, insulin, thyroid, estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. We look at those 6 primary areas, and given the makeup of different symptoms that you're experiencing, whether it's like swelling in your hands and feet, whether it's headaches, whether it is bloating and indigestion, depending on what the combination is, you can kind of puzzle piece together. Hey, is this pointing to really low estrogen? Hey, is this pointing to likely high insulin? What is this signaling to us to start to pay attention? So that's step number 1. And like I said, I'm happy to share that link. You can share it with your listeners so they can do a little bit of fact finding first to know direction do I start. And just like, a woman, Mary, that I worked with, she came to me when she had really tender breasts and she had actually found a lump in her breast. Of course, panicked, a lot of fear. She had a lot of histamine reaction in her body as well, headaches, nasal congestion, and just really feeling brain fog a lot. And had no idea that those 2 things were related, first of all. And when we did this hormone assessment, we were able to discern that estrogen, we need to look at estrogen and look at how her body is processing this hormone. Lo and behold, she certainly had difficulty because of lack of key nutrients in removing and detoxifying excess estrogen from her body. And through some guided step-by-step game plan, she was actually able to minimize the lump in her breast, avoid a $5,000 lumpectomy surgery, and not only that, massively give her peace of mind because I no longer am fearing a diagnosis of cancer. I am so proud and excited about the resiliency of my body and seeing that true transformation. So it's like, again, where's that point? Where's that starting point?
Right.
Where should you pay attention to based on the symptoms that your hormones are signaling? So that's step number one, root cause. Step number two is replenish nutrients. Like I said, every single cell is nutrient dependent. So if something isn't functioning the way we would want it to be, likely there's some type of sign there that the cell isn't getting what it needs to do its job.
Okay.
So starting to look at, we can do it through, again, looking at the symptoms, looking at additional further testing, and even with your regular annual lab work. This is one thing I always like to share is you'll see the reference range, which is kind of the range of, actually it shows 2 standard deviations or the range of roughly 95% of the population tested at the lab across the country. So in our current world, just being in the common range does not in any way necessarily indicate that your health is optimal. It means it's common. And when we get out of the reference range, now it's become diagnosable, but there's a narrower margin that I educate clients to look at to be like, okay, well, are we inching towards that diagnosable side of the range or are we staying in the optimal space, right? We want to optimize our health. So that's a first thing, looking at nutrients to replenish. The third step is restoring that digestive capacity, because step number one is learning what foods and what nutrients your cells need. I've had so many clients and women that I've worked with that will be eating very nutrient dense, healthy foods. Mm-hmm. But yet when we look at their micronutrient, those cells aren't making it, or those nutrients aren't making it inside the cell. And the disconnect there is what's happening in the gut, what's happening with the nervous system. Because if we're not stepping into that parasympathetic, that rest, digest, repair side of our nervous system, and we're constantly in fight or flight, sympathetic, stress dominance, the body intentionally on purpose is designed to deprioritize digestion in favor of preparing your large muscles and your heart to run or to fight or to flee. So it's not paying attention. It's not prioritizing taking in those nutrients and making sure we utilize them. It's like, no, we don't have to worry about that now. We got to be prepared to save our life because there might be a true fight. And that perceived threat may be just a thought that you're having about your to-do list for your business of like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to get back to this client. That's stress in the body, even though there's no physical threat. Right? When we have dynamic happening, we're preventing our own digestion and absorption from taking place.
So which comes first in that case? Adjusting the digestive system or reducing the stress, or both? Because they sound like they're very interconnected.
They are very connected, and that's why step number 4 is reset your thinking. Okay. Where we start to look deeper at those neurological programs, the subconscious beliefs and resistance that has been running the show, that is constantly triggering that fight or flight stress response in your body. Mm-hmm. How can we identify where it's being triggered and start to create new pathways that are more balanced, more calm, make it easier for you to toggle back into that creativity, that contentment, that place of curiosity, which is parasympathetic dominance, right? So they go hand in hand. First, we want to test the digestive capacity and kind of see where your absorption levels are. And then we look at, usually, almost always, I would say 99% of the time, there's a lot of neurological reprogramming that gets to happen in order to expand your bandwidth for what your body, what your lifestyle can tolerate, and still be in that place of calm, centered balance. Okay. And then that 5th step is removing toxins. We do have a lot of exposure to whether it be environmental toxins or toxic thoughts. Again, the way kind of reinforcing, what is the pattern that I've been running here in my head? Do I believe myself? Or like people always say, well, a lot of times in business, I'll have doubt that I'm going to be able to hit my financial number, or doubt that I'm going to be able to attract as many clients as I want. And I said, well, another way to look at doubt is it's actually trust. You have trust. You just have trust in what you do not prefer rather than trust in what you do prefer. So how can we start to build up the trust and evidence of what you do prefer and really look at it from that vantage point? And again, looking at these very sequentially so that we're reducing overwhelm. Right. Taking it one step at a time and building from the momentum that has been created. Seeing evidence of the change is really inspiring and impactful for women.
I love that. I've talked to a number of people on this topic and from a variety of different access points, but I got to tell you, Amanda, you're probably the most comprehensive and able to describe it in a really accessible way about something that is quite complex. And so I really appreciate that, and that you've broken it down into a system and a process that is really about achieving those wins along the way, understanding, not just accepting, and empowering people to take control back over their life and their body and their well-being and so forth. I gotta tell you, I was kind of like, yeah, for a lot of the natural people that I've talked to and functional doctors and, alternative practitioners and stuff, because it just hasn't, it seemed like a lot of them took one thing and specialized in it. It's like a lot of the programs in the expertpreneur world. This person will teach you all about how to do challenges, and this person will teach you all about Facebook ads, and this person, etc. And you do need that specialization when you're going deeper. But if you don't have the functional overview and foundation in your business, I call it your revenue runway, then there's no sense in trying to build a profit plane because you got no runway for it to take off and land on. And so what I hear from you is a really functional grounding and foundation for then, perhaps going deeper on some of the specializations or ways to drill down on one of those 5 areas or different things that we can do. But it's in the context of a much more holistic perspective. So that, I really appreciate that. I congratulate you. I've probably talked to 20 people on this topic, maybe more. And you're the first one that I'm like, okay, I want to work with her. So thank you. Okay, so just before we wrap up, you mentioned your free copy of the hormone assessment and to discover what type of hormone imbalance is affecting your health. Can you tell us what the URL is, just in case people don't see the show notes? Do you know what that is?
Yes, it is Hinman, HINMAN, holistic.com. And at the very top, there's a receive the book resources here. If you put your name and information in there, the very first thing you'll receive is one of the resources is the hormone health assessment.
Okay, so hinmanholistic.com, and there's no slash, it's just go to the opt-in, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I highly recommend that everybody goes and does that. I'm going to do it myself right now. Well, as soon as we get off. And I really appreciate the time that you've taken to not only give us this information, but clearly your passion has led you down the path of doing a lot of research, but not just research, integration and figuring out how to make it understandable, accessible, and in a logical process. And that really takes a lot of work. And so thank you for doing all that work so that you can really support women in showing up and being the best that they can be. So for my immediate gratification, folks, what's a couple of tips that will help them feel better right now before they go through all of that process with you?
Yeah, super simple. Again, I'm all about sustainability, which means it has to be simple. So when we think about nourishing ourselves, right, I talked a lot about how important it is to get the right gas into the station, into the car. One hand meal plan approach that you can take with you and do it anywhere is what I call PFFV. And it stands for P as in protein. Think of a palm-sized serving of protein. F as in a fiber, a scoop of a fiber-rich food at each meal. So this is something like, whole grains, your legumes, nuts and seeds are a good source of rich, high fiber foods. The next F is for healthy fat, omega-3 fatty acids. So a thumb size serving of healthy fat, whether you think about drizzling a little olive oil on top of your meal, or a slice of avocado, something, a little bit of smoked salmon. So healthy fat. And then that last one is V for vegetable, of at least one fist of veggie. So if nothing else, if you start to, from a very foundational perspective, start to think, okay, 3 meals a day, I'm going to aim for PFFV, protein, fiber-rich food, healthy fat, and veggie. You got it. That is going to be a very good foundation to start to give your cells the nourishment that they need ongoing.
I like that, and I like the simplicity of it too. The hand with the palm and the thumb and the fist and the what was the other one? The scoop handfuls. So like that's just a very practical, easy way to help people remember that. Although I don't remember the last time I had one scoop, one slice of avocado. It typically tends to be half an avocado and sometimes a whole one, but okay, we'll work on the one scoop or one slice. Tell people how they can find you. So we gave them your website, hinmanholistic.com. Is there anywhere else that you would like them to connect with you, and where can they find your book?
Yes, I am also on Instagram. You can find me at Hinman Amanda on Instagram. And my book is available on Amazon or at my website. It's the Thyroid and Hormone Solution, a 5-step plan to balance your hormones naturally, by Amanda Hinman.
Awesome. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, and gents, I know we've been talking a lot about women because Amanda predominantly serves women. However, all of this applies to you. It would just apply in a different way. And likely, I don't know if you do work with men. Do you work with men?
Yeah, I do refer if there are men that are looking for optimization of their health.
Okay, good. So she's got a referral partner for you. And you can pick up the book and see what's relevant for you. And I really, really appreciate, like I said, the time you've taken to hone your expertise. Just switching topics for a moment. One of the things that I know a lot of our listeners are looking at: what's next? What do I want to do next in my life? Or how do I keep going? Or how do I launch what I'm doing? Tell us just very briefly, what is because you made the transition from corporate to entrepreneur, right?
Correct.
So what was the biggest challenge for you in that transition?
I would say it was perceived to be the biggest blessing is the freedom, right? The time freedom, the spaciousness of how I use it. And also the challenge was learning the new skill set with how to prioritize my focus and my attention in revenue generating, business creating actions. Because again, it's easy for me to lean into what is fun, and I love to be strategic. I love to learn, but learning doesn't necessarily drive business growth.
That's right.
So that it's a new skill set to step into.
Exactly. And so how did you hone and develop that skill set? Because there's lots of people like you listening who have a passion for something that they do. It might be listening and, oh, I have a passion for health too. And they're, wanting to start a business or in a business, but not getting anywhere. A lot of it is because, frankly, they suck at marketing and sales. And I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs over the last 40 years. The biggest challenge most people have, and especially women, is they really don't do well with self-promotion and marketing and sales. So how did you overcome that? Did you overcome that?
I have overcome that, and it wasn't easy. Honestly, what ended up being the pathway for me was a blessing. Is I, in addition to growing my business, had gotten in the first 2 years was really in a place of financial strain where I wasn't generating revenue consistently. So I took on some work with a client that I had been in business mentorship with. She was hiring for her sales team. I ended up stepping in to do that part-time, and was so effective at learning the strategy and learning the process that she utilized to connect with and to nurture and then to enroll clients. I end up becoming their number one sales lead and navigating and running her team for 2 years. So it was almost like I was gifted the invitation to work within an already existing established business
Yeah.
and learn that process and practice my skill set of enrollment, of nurturing, connecting, and marketing before that I was able to launch fully and step away for my own business. But I needed that external
Yeah.
support and that
And
practice.
structure and ability and belief in you as well, and the skills transfer. That's a brilliant way to do it. And if you're listening to this, folks, reach out to your coach, reach out to people that you're in communities with, and see, do they have projects that they will hire you for? Can you learn these skills on a part-time basis? Will they teach you? Will they mentor you? Don't buy courses willy-nilly. Make sure you're buying strategically in terms of what you really need to learn, and that better be something related to how to sell more. And that doesn't necessarily just mean sales courses. It means how to get good at being effective in your business as a leader, as an owner, as a revenue generator. And it's more than just sales skills, right? So
Yeah, there's nothing that's more or a path for me that was really effective was having I was commission based. So having my this like my genuine practice was doing the work, but it paid for itself when I became more effective at it. So that was promoting, that was inspiring for me to have, a need to
yeah.
really focus.
Well, and one of the things that I think you really need to check in with yourself, my dear listeners, is, are you like Amanda? Are you motivated by challenge? And are you curious and a learner and wanting to grow your skills and abilities because you're curious? Or if you get desperate, do you shut down and get debilitated and get too stressed to be able to be functional? There are some people, when they put their back against the wall, they thrive. There are others that take a dive. So make sure you know which one you are, because that'll make all the difference to how you approach it. And that worked really well for you, is to get desperate and to get like, I have to make this work, because you have that kind of don't tell me what to do and I can make this and I can have this happen and so forth. It's a very, I call it functional oppositional defiance, right? So I think that's great quality to have, especially for an entrepreneur. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being here. What's one last tidbit that you'd love to leave our listeners with, whether it's about health or being an entrepreneur, or there's anything you'd like to leave everybody with? What is that?
Yes, what I'd like to leave them with is, like, you have your desire for a reason. Your desire has been placed in your heart, and I believe it's divinely inspired for a reason. So allow yourself the spaciousness and the grace to lean into that desire, whether the desire is to up-level your health, whether that desire is to grow your business, whatever the desire is, it's there for a reason. So continue to come back to that and lean in, even when it feels emotionally uncomfortable.
Especially when it feels uncomfortable. That's when we need to lean in even more. Thank you so much for being here, Amanda. I really appreciate your time, your passion, your heart. And folks, do go check her out, please, because like I said, I've talked to a lot of people in this space, and I wholeheartedly, even though I haven't worked with her, endorse Amanda's approach and way of thinking about this and competence. So check out her book, check out her website, connect with her. Get in the driver's seat. We need to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of the others in our world, be that your family, be that your tribe, be that the world, whoever it is that you're up to supporting and serving. So please do take care of yourself this week in real, practical, functional ways so that you can be the difference that only you can be, my friends. Bye for now. We'll see you on the next episode. And by the way, please do share this one and subscribe to our channel, because this is a good one. So please pass it on to all your friends. Do them a favor. Take care. Bye for now. Thank you for listening. I'd love it if you left a comment and subscribed. And I encourage you to apply one aha from this interview right away, so you can turn your wisdom into wealth and your contribution into positive change. Bye for now.